One of the statements we find in the Gemara and find it in Rashi, in the Talmud and in Rashi, says, Al kol peshoim techasa ava. When there is love, it covers over all sins. Not necessarily sins, but deficits. When two people appreciate each other and love each other and care for each other, they're willing to overlook those sometimes differences which happen between them. I think that's important about a lot of things. So when couples get along and they're respectful of each other, they're able to manage a lot of the differences which happen in a relationship.
So that the fact that, let's say, using the term loosely, love, let's say love and or infatuation,
right,
can cover over flaws or deficits, right? That could be a double-edged sword, because obviously in a healthy, fulfilling marriage, right, everybody has flaws, and a healthy marriage should include the fact that because we're in this together and there's this, mutual love and connection and respect, etc. So yeah, we'll overlook those things because, on the scale, it doesn't rank, right? That being said, going back to what you said earlier, is that sometimes when people are dating, they meet someone and for whatever reason, they become perhaps infatuated head over heels, and then they become perhaps out of touch with what their objective priorities are. And they can get carried away and forget about the things that are going to be important, when they wake up in the morning, after they're married, 2 years down the road, 10 years down the road. So a few things, I guess, that really could, we could do
let me answer right there, because I'm very forgetful and I'll forget the question you're asking, so I want to answer it. Clearly, if you're dating somebody and you see a fault, which is very difficult for you to see, it would be a mistake to think that if I like this person, that fault will go away. No, that's a strong indication you're picking up something which you don't like. Even though you're infatuated with this person, that's probably not going to change after you get married. Actually, if it bothers you now, it'll bother you even more later, probably. I am referring to something else. I'm referring to the concern that in the future, this might become a problem. Those kind of things are more about worry than they are about denial. That's a different thing. When people care about each other, you can't worry about every possibility. Well, what will happen in the future? I see this about this person. How is it going to look in the future? She's a timid person. He's an assertive person. What will happen if? The answer to that is, if you like the person, you'll make it work out. If it's becoming already an issue now and you think to yourself, well, maybe I can ignore it because if I like him, I can ignore the fact that he wants to move to France and I don't want to go to France. That's probably not going to work. Whether you love the guy or you love the girl, that is probably going to be a problem even after you get married. Right now, it's a current specific issue. Just the fact that you care about that person isn't going to make a difference. We're using the term love, and I want to be clear about this. We're also talking about dating. Some people feel love when they date. Other people don't. I think the word I'm going to use to be more careful is care and concern. I care about this person. I like this person. I'm attracted to this person. Any one of those words is fine, because loving a person is not something you necessarily will feel when you date someone. If you're lucky, you may feel infatuation, but you just want to feel comfortable. Just feeling comfortable and safe with someone is often a sign that this is a beginning of a good relationship. Infatuation and loving someone when dating is less a sign of the values of the other person than it is of your personality, and your personality responding to somebody else. Often you become love at first sight. Well, we know from research that love at first sight has less to do with the other person than it has to do with how you come into the relationship or how you were triggered by something which was said, which made you feel love at first sight. It has little to do with that objective reality. But
so
yes,
would you say that the people who are prone to that are going to be prone to that with most of the people they meet?
Not necessarily, but my point is just that the idea of you've got to feel strong, overwhelming love, or you've got to be smitten by the person, or you've got to be swept away by the person. And if you're not, this relationship is not for you. May be unfair, and you may be losing out by having that view. Often, you just may be going out with somebody who's nice, who's kind, and feels like, yeah, this person feels okay to be around. I could live the rest of my life with this person. There's no big fireworks going off. But you know what? As time goes on, as life goes on, and the two of you build a life together, that is a seed which will grow into a lot more. So I'm just saying that it's important not to think that just because I'm not feeling it means that the relationship can't work out. It depends what you're not feeling. If you're feeling nothing, that's probably not a good sign. If you're feeling comfortable with a person, but it wasn't what you expected, that's an entirely different story. Don't give up. These things take time.
If you haven't yet, click on the subscribe button, then click on the notification bell to see future videos. And please, again, share the link wherever you share things on social media, Facebook, wherever it is, WhatsApp groups, WhatsApp status, to help this message reach more people. This has been the Bites of Judaism podcast. This podcast has been made possible by Mr. and Mrs. David and Malki Smetana. If you found it valuable, please leave a 5-star rating and a review. It really does help it reach more people. And tell your friends about it. If you haven't yet, you can subscribe on all the major podcast platforms at rabbiglick.link/podcast. To dedicate a future episode of the podcast, send an email to podcast@rabbiglick.com. See you next time.